Accurate. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the regular meeting of the McKinleyville Community Services District Board of Directors of Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 to order. Okay, Jerry, would you please call the roll?
Director Bender?
Here.
Director Beitman? Here. Director Couch is absent. Director Mayo?
Present.
Director Orsini?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Director Orsini, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I would be honored.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
There are no additions or changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
Good.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, Joey?
President Bender?
Yes.
Director Beitman?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Director Orsini?
Yes.
Okay, item A5, closed session discussion. At any time during the regular session, the board may adjourn to closed session to consider existing or anticipated litigation, liability claims, real property negotiations, license and permit determinations, threats to security, public employee appointments, personnel matters, evaluations and discipline, labor negotiations, or to discuss with legal counsel matters within the attorney-client privilege. We have no closed session scheduled for this evening. B, public hearings. These are items of a quasi-judicial or legislative nature. Public comments relevant to these proceedings are invited. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. Public comment or written communications. Any person may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the McKinleyville Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Letters should be used for complex issues. Is there any public comment this evening? Public comment on Zoom? Please raise your hand if you do.
Could I ask a question?
Seeing,
Since I can't see that, would someone read to me who's online, please?
There is a call-in participant, Catherine M., Jack Durham, JT, Mara, Marjorie Adler, and Susan.
Thank you so much.
okay. Joey, are there any written communications?
We did receive a written communication. Tom Boyer gave public comment at the past board meeting on August 7th. He submitted a letter for public comment that is included in your packet as attachment 1, and it is reviewable in the packet and/or online at mckinleyvillecsd.com.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, Dennis.
On things like the letters, what's our, God, I've been here a long time, I don't know. What's our process for commenting on that letter? Do we do it after we're done, or
Oh, it's just like any public comment that,
wait until we're done?
well, yeah, it's not really open for discussion. It's not agendized.
Okay,
as-
all right,
yeah.
thank you.
Don't.
Yeah, no,
Okay, thanks.
probably best.
Okay, section D, consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board of directors at one time without discussion. If any board member, staff member, or interested person requests that an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed so that it may be acted on separately. Is it the pleasure of the board to remove any items this evening? Staff? Members of the public? Okay, I'll call for, yes.
Seeing none, I will move the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Jerry, would you please call the roll?
President Bender?
Yes.
Director Beitman?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Director Orsini?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Section E, moving on to continued and new business. Item E1 would be provide staff direction concerning pursuit of next steps for providing Big Lagoon CSD operational and maintenance assistance. This item will be presented by Pat Kaspari, our General Manager.
Thank you, President Binder. As the board is aware, in March of 2024, the Big Lagoon Community Services District made an initial request for assistance from McKinleyville CSD in the operation of their water system. Richard Mayer, Big Lagoon's accountant, addressed this board in April asking for assistance from MCSD staff to perform several tasks, including bookkeeping and administrative, meter reading, consisting of meter reading, billing, collections, governmental reporting, as well as water operation consisting of governmental testing requirements and assist in the repair and maintenance of the water system as needed. The original memo from Mr. Mayor and other supporting documentation Big Lagoon provided is included as attachment 1 in your board packets. MCSD staff went through the memo and came up with a list of tasks we believe would have to be performed for Big Lagoon to conform to state regulatory requirements and include the items listed in their memo. District staff then developed a detailed cost estimating spreadsheet, which is included as attachment 2 to your board packets. District staff estimated the hours to perform each task and utilized the fully loaded hourly rate for district staff that would likely perform the tasks. The intent would be to perform the requested services for Big Lagoon at no fiscal cost to MCSD ratepayers. These services would be provided at cost, and no attempt would be made to make a profit off of Big Lagoon ratepayers. This spreadsheet was then submitted to Big Lagoon on May 7th, 2024. Big Lagoon then discussed the tasks and costs at their July 28th board meeting. MCSD staff met again with Mr. Mayor and Craig Gus Settine on August 6, 2024. At that meeting, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Settine stated that the Big Lagoon board had given them direction to request that MCSD staff perform tasks 1 through 6, 8 through 12, and 16 through 21 on the spreadsheet. So generally performing meter reading and billing for them, as well as the reporting requirements. Big Lagoon would perform tasks 7A, B, 13, 14, and 15. So they would continue to grab the samples required of the system. After meeting with Big Lagoon, MCSC staff reached out to Executive Director of the Local Agency Formation Committee, or LAFCO, to see if LAFCO would need to approve or do anything else to allow MCSD to take over these responsibilities. LAFCO was supportive of MCSD assisting Big Lagoon and cited Government Code Section 61070 and Government Code Section 56133E1, which state a district may contract with any local agency, state department or agency, federal department or agency, or any tribal government for the provisions by or to the district of any facilities, services, or programs authorized by this division within or without the district, subject to compliance with Section 56133, which reads, this section does not apply to any of the following: 2 or more public agencies where the public services to be provided and is an alternative to or substitute for public services already being provided by an existing public service provider, and where the level of service to be provided is consistent with the level of service contemplated for the existing service provider. LAFCO staff also requested that once there is a contract, to send it to them with a written description of the service arrangement and any other supporting documentation of the contractual arrangement. They also stated that this should be in a form of an official request to be exempt from commission consideration and approval in accordance with Government Code Section 56133E. LAFCO will then formally respond with written determination. MCSD staff also discussed this with the State Water Resources Control Board to see if they would have any issues with MCSD taking over this role. State Water Resources Control Board staff cautioned that our operator would then take over responsibility for their system and could be held responsible for any deficiencies, permit violations, etc. They also said that MCSD could be responsible for making improvements to the Big Lagoon system required by the State Water Resources Control Board. These sorts of issues would, of course, have to be addressed in any service agreement signed between the parties to protect MCSD ratepayers and make sure Big Lagoon was responsible for any additional costs not explicitly laid out in the agreement. MCSD staff also reached out to district legal counsel, and they agreed that there would be all sorts of issues to be addressed, not the least of which would be the service agreement. District's legal counsel also represents LAFCO in Big Lagoon, and there would also have to be conflict waivers executed. Rather than starting on all these tasks, we agreed to wait to see if the MCSD board wished to have us pursue these items. There are also the non-monetary impacts of providing these services to Big Lagoon. As detailed in the cost estimate, this will mean another 22 hours per month for finance staff and operations staff reading the meters and billing. There will also be another 53 hours per year for the operations director and reporting tasks. All of these don't sound like a lot of time, but MCSD staff is already fully busy. We run an efficient and lean organization that at times can feel too lean. The addition of the Big Lagoon work will add to the workload and stress. The board is reminded that their first responsibility is to the MCSD ratepayers. Although it is important to help our fellow CSDs in times of trouble, it is also important not to do this to the detriment of MCSD operations. So staff recommends that the board discuss the information submitted, hear from Big Lagoon CSD representatives who are here tonight, take public comment, and provide direction to staff on whether to pursue providing the requested operational assistance to Big Lagoon CSD.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Board, do we have any comments?
Lots,
Lots. Go ahead, Dennis.
but I would see if anybody else has comments first, because I've got a lot.
You've got a
Talking
lot.
to the microphone.
I've got a lot, so I would prefer if the other board members had questions that I would
If you
wait.
got a lot, go ahead and, because you might cover some of the stuff that I.
All right. And what I've got to, my questions then would be good for those that are here to hear and address. Okay. First of all, I'm extremely supportive of these types of cooperative arrangements. We have worked through Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District for a long time to instill the vision to expand the total water system. This isn't exactly that, but I think it kind of falls in that concept of agencies expanding their service areas and cooperating. So I am very supportive initially. First question, does Big Lagoon have legal counsel? And so let me ask them, and then you can, one at a time, and you can address, is that okay just to address them as I ask them?
It's okay with me.
Okay.
It's okay with the rest of the board. I know when I was talking to district's legal counsel, Russ Gans, he said that they have represented Big Lagoon as well. I don't know if Big Lagoon has any additional legal counsel or that is who they would use as well.
Okay, when they make their presentation, I'd like them to address that. And that's not a killer, I just want to know. Because if they have legal counsel, they need to be able to work with our legal counsel and/or perhaps make a change. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. Second question is, considering current state legislation, which is new, has been worked on for a long time, on consolidation of I don't know what the right term is, non-productive, able to adhere to requirement water districts.
Faltering.
Yeah, okay. And having an agency close or around absorb them, which is a double-edged sword. I mean, it has some positives and also some negatives. If we enter into this arrangement, does it put MCSD on the hook to have to absorb this district potentially? I think that's a very important question for us to get answered. I don't know, you know. Third question is, or statement, I would like, if we participate with this group, that they join Aqua. And there's a lot of positive reasons to be Aqua members. Number one kind of drifts into my last question about joining or consulting with JPIA. And I would like us to speak to JPIA about the whole issue. I don't know how to elucidate every problem because it hasn't popped in my head yet or been brought to, but there's probably issues that I haven't thought of. So those are my questions, and I'm very supportive of helping. But those are issues that this district really needs to ferret out before we make a decision. So thank you guys for being here. Hope you understand that those are not questions or concerns that are meant to be negative. They actually are proactive and important for our district and yours. I'm done.
Okay. Director Orsini or Beitman?
I'll make one comment, I'll make it short, and that is, well, I agree with Director Mayo, especially with helping our neighbor. I have the concern, and I'd like to see it effectively addressed, of spreading an already spread thin staff even further. That's my major concern. And I'd like to see that answered before we move forward on the question. Thank you.
Okay. Director Orsini?
Thank you. Yeah. Just to set the record straight, whoever we talked to at the State Water Resources Control Board didn't know what they were talking about. Our operators would not be responsible for things that happened to their system as long as he was reporting, or that the operators were reporting what they were supposed to report, and they weren't, and they were doing what they were, as long as they were doing their job, they can't be held responsible. That would be like us saying that if we decided not to replace a pump, that somehow the operators, if MCSD didn't replace a pump and it caused a problem, that the operators would be the ones that would be at fault. That's hooey. Also, that MCSD would not be absorbing Big Lagoon Community Services District. They would be aiding them. There would be no way that our ratepayers could be held financially responsible, fiscally responsible for the condition. That would be the ratepayers in Big Lagoon. So that kind of takes that off the board. Personally, my number one priority is for the ratepayers of McKinleyville Community Services District and for our staff. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and to see that the duties that I am tasked with get done related to that. But being part of this industry for as many years as I have, I can see where Big Lagoon has got themselves in a situation that's not tenable, and it's also important that the people in Big Lagoon can trust that when they go to turn their water on, when the fire department goes to open a hydrant, that it's going to be there, and that the water's safe to drink. That's important to me as a water distribution operator and as a wastewater management operator, that those things happen. So I'm not gonna make a decision on this until I hear from the people from Big Lagoon. But any decision that's made, I'll be adamant that there's a time limit, that this will not be a long-term permanent situation. It's not tenable for us. There's only 20 hours. What was that? 20 hours. What was that? 20 hours a week or a month? 20 hours a month. 20 hours a month. That doesn't finance a body. So anything we do would have to be done by the people that we already have that have 40 hours a week worth of stuff to do. We don't have anybody sitting around that needs 20 hours worth of stuff to do a month, do we, James? So that's also a consideration. And the distance is another thing that I'm concerned with, is just the sheer distance that we'd have to travel for that. Anyway, that I'll hold making any decision until I hear from Big Lagoon, if they so want to speak.
You brought up something that I hadn't really considered. It was kind of addressed in the staff report about cost, but if our staff is going, the majority, as I understand it, is going to be paperwork, but there will be physical interaction there, correct? Is that going to be paid to our staff like on overtime? I'm not quite sure how we're going to break that down, so.
Yeah, and the way we've costed it out is not overtime, that it would be part of their 8 hours. And we included the travel time required for staff to go to Big Lagoon and back.
Gotcha, but we're going to have to pull that person off from already assigned duty.
Correct.
So there's going to have to be some, I mean, how do we cover that? And I'm sure you thought about that. So I'm just curious about that part of it.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think from what I've heard so far is everybody's, the board members are all supportive of trying to help, but we got to make damn sure this thing pencils out.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things too that would be important is that we didn't take on any responsibility for any repairs or any maintenance or anything like that. I think that much like some of the smaller districts and cities do, they contract that out.
Right.
They basically contract that work out. The only thing that we really need to have somebody up there to do is the stuff that we need a certified wastewater, or I mean a certified water distribution operator doing.
But, and that would entail like testing, that type of thing.
Well, I guess from what I understand here, they're willing to do the testing themselves. So
Yeah, but we have to be 100%. No disrespect intended. But if somebody else does testing that we don't do, but yet we're responsible for certifying stuff, I see that can be a kind of a problem. Anyway, I know you guys do this and you're in the minutia. I'm just kind of asking questions. What about my question about the JPIA, which is, I think, a damn big deal. And I'd like to have a
I don't know
little
what you're talking
feedback
about,
on
the
that.
JPIA.
He's talking about
The
Aqua.
insurance, Aqua, JPIA.
The
insurance.
insurance.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have liability insurance already.
Yeah, but we got to, but I don't want our JPIA association to be impacted if we're doing something that they don't agree with or haven't vetted in on. See what I mean? That's all.
Yeah, and the JPIA has a risk manager officer that we can reach out to and ask that question of if they see any issues.
Yeah, but we don't go through the JPIA. We use the JPIA for our healthcare. We do our liability insurance through SDRMA.
And thank you for that clarification, and that may be what we need to ask for here. Okay? Anyway.
Okay, Director Bidman?
This is not a fresh concern, but it's restating an existing concern, which is the proposal appears to be one of temporarily helping and not entering into something that morphs into some kind of a permanent arrangement. The one thing that would give assurance, as far as I'm concerned, that it is going to be a temporary helping arrangement is that we have clarity with regard to what happens at the end of this arrangement. How will they then be in a position to take this responsibility themselves without our support and assistance? And I'd like to see that as an assurance that this is in fact a temporary arrangement. Thank you.
Understood.
Could we hear from a spokesperson from Big Lagoon?
Yes. Please step up to the microphone, state your name, and tell us what you have to tell us.
We may need to consider that if we get involved in this, we're stuck with it.
That's exactly what I'm considering, okay?
My name is Richard Mayer. I'm the accountant for Big Lagoon Community Services District. First question, we also use Russell Gans. We haven't had to use him since 2022, but he has been our attorney through the processes that we've had to go through.
Gans, they use Mitchell Bristow just like we do.
So we are also insured by SDRMA.
Perfect.
The nature of what we're trying to do here is to figure out how we get to the next step of a long-term solution. But we have this immediate need, and so this is something we need to address. We're trying to, and you were our first option to be able to try to help us through this period. We currently have a D1 operator who does all of our testing and maintains our system. His license will run out in 2028. So we know we have some time to figure out how ultimately that's going to be solved. But in terms of being able to handle the administrative and day-to-day testing we can do, but the administrative piece and the billing piece and the collections piece is just not something where we have the facility to do very well anymore. So ultimately, that is our main issue that we need to solve here in the short term. Going forward, we're starting to look at, and we were talking with other people about what might be long-term solution, and we will obviously entertain whatever information you would like to do as that sort of progresses. But that's something that we realize that this is a temporary solution to what ultimately has to be a long-term solution. And I'm not sure what that's actually going to look like, but that's what, if we can get this piece handled, that gives us the 4 years to be able to figure out that solution before we now lose our D1 operator. Ultimately, our community has gone through changes over time. Right now, we are a very old community. I'm not even going to guess what the average age is, but it's clearly well past retirement. Joey brings our average down.
Joey brings average down on a lot of things.
So ultimately, I think what we are asking for you, and we understand that the 20 hours has to be filled, we are also in a position to be able to pay for that service. Right. And if that means you have to hire a temporary person or a part-time person, then we're willing, in essence, to pay for that as a solution. The good news is, if you look at our financials, we are not in financial problems.
Right.
We are a solvent, small water district. We have no current debt, period. We have upgraded and maintained our system. We recently put in a new generator. We have a newer well. We've replaced our storage tanks. Our chlorinator is new. So we have maintained the system in a way that it operates efficiently and without very little problem. Yes, we've had some leaks here and there, but I think any water system is going to have those. But we address that. And we recognize that we will still need to continue to maintain that system. That is our issue that we have to provide. That's not your issue. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, it's still our system, and we accept responsibility for maintaining our system. Right now, we are going through an organization called GHD. We applied for a grant. We received that. They just finished our water system survey for leaks. My understanding is, and maybe no significant leakage. We are also being provided with some water conservation equipment, which would be available to the residents of our system. We're also, as part of that, being able to conduct a rate study to be able to increase our rates necessary to cover whatever the cost is and whatever you feel is necessary for us to increase our rates to be able to cover the cost here for McKinleyville Community Services District. We want to have a solid relationship with you, and we absolutely appreciate the time that your staff has given to us to be able to put this forward. And I'll stand here and answer any other questions you have until you're satisfied.
Okay, thank you. Greg?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. That sort of filled in a lot of the blanks for me, so thank you very much for that. The repair, like fixing leaks and things like that, we don't have the means of getting our backhoe up there. So I think that any sort of repair to your system that needed to be done, you'd probably be better served to have a contractor on call.
Which is what we currently do.
Which is what you currently do. So you've got that covered. You've got your maintenance of your system covered. You've got your testing analysis covered. So really all you're really looking for is somebody to read your meters, run that through some sort of software or tally that bill, and then be able to receive those, and then be able to receive those bills when they come in.
And currently, we use exactly the same system that you use.
So you guys use MOMS?
We use Badger as our meter system.
Oh, your meter system.
So once you send someone up once a month to do the meter reading, which takes, to drive our district, if you haven't ever been up there, it's basically one road.
Sure.
And the main road coming in. That's it. It takes about 5 minutes to drive around and get the reading.
So you guys have the Orion radio?
Correct.
Okay.
So that process, it'll take them much longer just to simply drive the 20 minutes up there and the 20 minutes back, and 5 minutes in essence to get the meter readings. And that will happen once a month. Everything else we're asking for is administrative, that mostly is handled, I'm assuming, inside this building.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I got it.
Okay, Director Mayo.
Director Biteman, go ahead.
Okay.
I'd like the kind of a sketch for the end point. As others on the board have said, and I believe in helping our neighbors. At the same time, this is not, how do I say, the work has not been done to prepare to make any kind of a permanent, long-term merging type of arrangement. It's simply a short-term, limited assistance, which is what I understand what you're requesting and what we're considering. What I'm not seeing, and perhaps you can sketch it for me, is at some time in the future, let's say it's 6 months, let's say it's a year, the assistance that your district receives from MCSD comes to an end, even if it's just administrative. What then? Do you anticipate hiring permanent staff to do that? Or
ultimately,
what's coming?
I wish I could tell you right now, today, what that actually will look at. We understand that there needs to be a permanent solution to, how our water system is maintained and administratively handled for the 43 customers who are in our district. Right now, because of the fact of the immediate needs we have, we understand that. And we've already started to have contact with outside organizations, both of which want me to report back as to how this sort of meeting goes, as to whether there is something in essence they can help us with long-term. My discussions with them is that would not be something we could accomplish in 6 months. We're talking about, a fairly large amount of administrative people that you're having to go through. My assumption is going to be it would take a minimum of at least a year and probably 2. Our bright line is we know by 2028 we have to find a permanent solution. So I guess at this point, if what you feel is you need to have it to be a very short timeline, I would hope that there would be a way for us as part of this to be able to have reports back to you showing, okay, here's where we are, here's our next step, and maybe we need X number of time based upon whatever it is that we find out. And I don't have any of those answers as I'm standing here today, so I don't want to mislead you. But trust me, it is something that is discussed constantly with the people at our district to try to figure out what our long-term solution is going to be. And so I would like to know that I would like to be able to tell our people that, yes, we have a partner who's going to help us with that transition. And whether it's 1 year or 2 years, that you'd be willing to go with us for that time period while we report back to you and say, here's what we've done, here's our next step, this is what they want us to do. Because to be honest with you, administratively, I don't even understand all of the ins and outs of how that would actually look at while I'm standing here. But we're going to find out, and we will figure it out with the people who we've already contacted.
Let me be clear. I'm less concerned about the duration than I am that there is an envisioned endpoint, whether it be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years out, whatever it is, and that this interim assistance is not really the beginning point of a merger between the systems, because that to me would be an entirely different question. And so
I agree that would be a completely different, because that would require, I'm not really sure what all it would require. I agree.
what I'd like to see or hear is, okay, it's temporary. When we get to the other end, help us get to this point. And what then is that point? Help us get to the other side of this difficult period. What's envisioned as the other side? And Director Orsini brought up the question of a contractor for backhoe maintenance, and you say that, well, that's already in place. Well, we're already doing that, and that provides a good feeling that the system's being maintained. There's no overhanging debt that's going to be causing problems, or any of those sorts of.
Can you use the microphone
Oh, I'm sorry.
for the benefit of those online?
That there's not some sort of a, how do I say, a pending set of problems that we'd wind up absorbing, having to take on. That it's simply a consideration on our part for a temporary bridge by providing certain kinds of assistance. But I'm repeating myself too much, which is it's a bridge to what? And without that clarity, my concern is that whatever it is, will be going on and on and on and on. There's no end to this arrangement. And then it's not a matter of providing temporary assistance. It's a matter of taking on some kind of a permanent relationship. And I think we're not prepared to discuss that at this point. So I don't know whether you can speak to that. As I hear you and you're speaking eloquently, we don't know. We don't know where this is going to lead us. And I can fully appreciate where you are and what you're looking at. And as you said, with the exception of Joey, you have an aging community. I can appreciate that from my own responsibilities. So I don't know. I'm just expressing a concern that I would like to see something that addresses that. So.
And I think that would be part of the contractual language that we would have to put together, in essence, as a paying for the fees for the services that you're going to be providing for us. I mean, all contracts can have a time limit. And so, putting that time limit on that, puts the onus on us to figure out what that next step is, and we now know we have a deadline.
Well,
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else, Dennis? Or maybe I'll say
a couple of not so terribly pertinent questions for my own education. Are you providing water to the Rancheria?
We are not.
What's their
We
system?
provide water to the school.
To the school, yes.
Yes.
Where's the Rancheria's water, or do you know?
I do not. I'm assuming I know they have their own wells, so they have their own.
I'm wondering in the long term, my other question was, what other providers are near you?
There are three
how far is
small
Oregon?
water systems there. There's the Rancheria, there is the corporation area, which
Yes,
is
the cabins.
the cabins and
Yeah.
all of that, and there's us, and we're all within that one local area.
Have you all talked about consolidating?
There has not been, at least in my recollection, a consolidation issue brought up simply because we're three completely different
No,
entities.
I understand. I would urge you, which has not necessarily relevant to our discussion tonight, but I would urge you to pursue that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that how far is Oric from you? I should know, but my brain's not.
10 miles?
10 miles. Oric's going to have a system. They've got federal money coming in and stuff. So you should consider some of that consolidation of the three groups that are there, and maybe as we do what we're going to probably do, in the thought process, you need to communicate with Oric Community Services District. And I would think that with the ability of funds for tribal infrastructure, that might be a really good source for who knows what. Anyway,
Yeah, except for the tribe doesn't have to worry about the state stuff, and I don't think that they want to get involved in that because they would be.
That very well may be. On the other hand, I don't know who's got the best water source. I'm just throwing that out.
Well, clearly, neither one of those two are bound by the same regulations that we are as a community services district.
Gotcha.
So that I know for sure.
Gotcha.
So
Okay, just,
but, yeah,
it just was a,
at this point,
consideration,
we
that's all.
won't turn down anybody's offer of whatever might pop up in this process as we work our way through.
you don't have to do it at all, but I would suggest as this moves along, that you open up negotiation discussions with those entities, just to see if there's some help there, that's all. I
I'd
know
like to hear what
Orange
you
is
have,
only 10
what you're
miles
thinking,
away.
Scott. You're the only one who hasn't gone on the record yet.
What?
I'd like to hear what you have, what you're thinking.
I'm waiting until you guys are done, and then I'm going to talk. That's what I was kind of telling him. Okay, I guess it's my turn now. All right, well, my comments are specifically to the item in front of me as written, and that concerns how we may be able to provide assistance to you. And I'm not going to propose any solutions or anything like the gentleman to the left and the right of me are talking about. But my comment, first off, is that this isn't something that really fits in with the MCSD's mission and vision statements, but there's nothing there that says that we can't make an exception. This would be a very, very rare exception, as that we're responsible to our own ratepayers in our own district boundaries. On page 43, it does read that the staff is fully busy and at times can feel a little too lean. I'm certain that this item has been brought before our operations director and our finance director in terms of your water operation thing here and assisting in repair and maintenance of the water system as needed, and the bookkeeping and administrative part of it. And if they're comfortable with doing that, that's wonderful. But I would be willing to support if there was an end point with an exit plan, a short-term contract, such as perhaps 2 or 3 years, and only taking on the bookkeeping and administrative part right now, because we know pretty much how much that's going to cost to do that. Once we start getting into assisting in repairing and maintaining the water system, those are unknown costs, and I'm not comfortable with that. So, just listening to you, it sounds like you're more needed for us to come up, read your meters, and provide the billing and such than the wastewater operator part of it. So, well, that's my comments, and unless anybody else has anything else. But I do like the idea of having an end point, a short-term 2 or 3 year contract, just to see how it works with an exit plan, like Director Beitman was talking about.
I do have one more. Pat, give us a little guidance on giving you guidance. Where are we at right now? What do you need from us to either move forward with this or not?
I think you guys have touched on all the main issues. Talking to administrative staff, and Samantha can jump in too, the way it would work is they have the Badger system, so the meter reads would feed into our system. We would have to set them up in BOMS, and what they would do is set them up as a separate billing route. So they would just have another route to bill every month. So the administrative folks weren't too terribly concerned about the additional workload. My big concern is operations. Operations absolutely is fully busy, and they're, like Greg said, there's nobody in operations that is sitting around wondering what to do. So it's that load on them. And I can let Director Henry talk about that too. And that is one of the areas, like people have touched on, that the slope could get slippery. As soon as you're out there and, our guys, and our guys are great. If they see a problem, yeah, they're the first ones to jump in and try to fix it. And, you know, we need to make that very clear. And with our service agreement, I have no doubt that we can craft a service agreement that lays out exactly what we're doing and what we're not doing, et cetera. One of the questions I do have, and I don't know, Richard, if you're willing to answer it tonight. So the next step, if this does move forward, is talking to Russ Gans about drafting that agreement. Is Big Lagoon willing to sign a waiver to allow us to?
Yes, we've already
have it?
discussed that, yes.
Okay, okay.
So then you guys would have to go hunt up another attorney.
If they can't provide us with a different attorney with inside their organization, that would also work for us. Or I'm a retired CPA. I have a lawyer in San Jose who we could use if they can't provide those services up here. So for us, that's not a problem on our side.
Think he could help me with my taxes?
I'm retired. I don't even do my own anymore.
Actually, we'll have to make a side deal, like I shouldn't even.
Yeah. If you haven't done your taxes yet, you're probably going to need more than just a CPA.
Oh, God, guys, let's don't go down that slope.
I don't know, James, is there anything you want to add to? And the other big onus of responsibility falls on James's shoulders with his certifications on the line, like has been discussed, of him signing off that, yes, indeed, these samples were collected under my direction, and what I'm reporting to you, the state, is indeed the truth. So that is, you know, a large responsibility that he would be taking on. So James, you want to chime in at all?
I guess there's not a whole lot more to say to that. There is some confusion because I know there says there's three resident customers.
They are not actually in the Big Lagoon Community Services
Oh, okay.
District.
Because I was like, there's 38 or there's 3, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 3 residences, and the school are technically outside of our boundaries, but have been part of our water distribution system since basically we took over in 1999.
Yeah, I guess the only fear I would have is just if there's an exit plan and there isn't no exit, and it's like, what are you gonna do, leave them stranded type thing? And then there's I'm the one who called the State Water Resources to find out what testing they required, and they're the ones that went off on, you don't wanna do this. So there was concerns on inheriting a problem. And so I definitely wouldn't want to inherit a problem over there and there not be funds or whatever to fix it so that we are all in compliance. So that was one of my biggest fears, was that. And as far as, you know, reporting, I do the reporting for us. So it's, yeah, I can set up reporting as long as you know, you've done reporting, Orsini, is it's only as good as the data they feed you to get you the information so you can do the reporting, the annual reporting and all those things and the drought reporting. And if you don't get the data or the correct data, you're sending a false report. And so, yeah, I guess that would be a fear of mine as far as that goes.
Yeah, I appreciate that, James, and I think that that's definitely something that, but I believe that because you're an employee of McKinleyville Community Services District, then you'd be working on behalf of McKinleyville Community Services District, as long as you weren't falsifying anything. There's no repercussions back to you. You know, you would have to be directly dry labbing or taking information and being inaccurate about the way you were passing it up passing it to the state. But if we have somebody from our staff that's having that for me is an issue. if, you know, that if there's just, you know, because James is a linchpin for this. You know, we can tell Big Lagoon that we don't want to have anything to do with any of the maintenance, no service calls. That's all going to have to be handled by a third-party contractor. We're going to read meters. We're going to process the bills. They're going to pay for us to go up there and read the meters, run it through our system, download it, and then use our bill, because we don't do any of that in-house anymore. We basically, once the bills are done, the bills are even printed off-site, so they would just have to cover that cost. But, and then the checks would come in, and somehow that would work out to where, you know, we did accounts receiving, and then the money was transferred somehow, I guess, or, you know, I guess that's how that would work. Samantha, you'd probably already have that figured out in your head, how that would work.
As I'm learning the system, it's definitely something that I would have to take time to figure out. But
Okay.
yes, essentially it would be, the checks and payments would come to us. We would figure out how we're going to deposit it, either directly into the Big Lagoon Service District account, or we accept it as a payment to us, and then we cut a payment to them once a month. There's definitely logistics to that we would have to figure out for
Yeah.
the
I don't
processing.
want to commingle stuff if we can help it.
No, I definitely agree,
Yeah.
yes.
But ultimately, so the linchpin here is the reporting that James is going to have to do. And there's a water quality, there's the, what's the annual, what is that? What is it called? No, I'm talking about the annual report that's with the water, the
Are we talking the consumer confidence report?
yeah, the consumer confidence report.
Yeah, we have the consumer, then we have the drought, we have the water loss, and the EAR. We have all four of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, for annuals, and they wanted us to do the quarterlies also and the semi-annuals. And the testing for all those also is what they're wanting.
Oh, yeah, but they're going to collect the samples. We're just going to take the lab results and,
They're going to collect the back samples. They weren't doing the test, they were wanting us to do the testing of the quarterly, semi-annual, annual, and the reporting to those ones, but they were going to do the back samples.
okay, they're doing back samples and disinfection byproducts. It's 15, they're going to do 15, 13, 14, and 15.
And they want us to do the governmental, the testing.
Oh, so you guys would do the back sample reporting too?
Yes.
They would do the back sample reporting, we would take the other ones on.
But we'd have to do the consumer confidence report, the water loss, the EAR,
The drought,
and the water supply and demand testing, or reporting.
and that's what brought on the conversation, why I called State Water, is like, what requirements do they have? And that turned into a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Maybe a good question would be to talk to our attorney about where James's liability, if there's a direct severable liability to James. I don't believe that there is a severable liability to James. I believe that James would be working for McKinleyville Community Services District, and so, you know, his.
Can we find that out for
his-
certain?
His distribution operator certification would not be on the hook, because they've got a distribution operator, but somebody besides me needs to answer that question, because I'm not qualified.
Yeah, he
to
would be
make that
covered
question.
under MCSD's liability insurance, et cetera, because he's covered under it, and he's, yes, like you said, performing work for the districts.
Yeah, he would be, any work he's doing it on behalf of MCSD, who's contracting
Right.
with another entity.
But James's protection is specifically spelled out right now. So if you think you have the guidance you need, and still, my main concern is our liability. That's the biggest concern I think all of us have addressed. And I'll make a statement to the board, and you can all concur or not, whatever. I think that Pat has enough information to move ahead with these discussions, with the caveat that our main concern is our liability.
Well, and James's personal liability, James's severable
When I
liability.
say
too.
our, I mean
Yeah.
all y'all's. If you want to go down to Louisiana, it's all y'all's. So do you have enough guidance, Pat, or not?
No, I don't. What are you, so, from what I heard from you, Director Mayo, is that you want me to proceed. So the next steps would be to reach out to district legal counsel. He would have to execute the conflict waivers, and then we'd have to start crafting the agreement. And I guess that's another question. So we did not include in my cost estimate legal fees for drafting the agreement.
My assumption was we would share that cost.
Okay, so that is one thing that you guys would have to agree on too, so. the
If
district
it's a
is-
deal breaker, we'll cover
You
it.
know, since you have the same legal counsel, you know what the fee.
All legal counsel is expensive.
Yeah.
Yes,
So so I don't think we're that far. I think there's some questions that need to be answered first, and that's the question of the district's liability related to, and James's severable liability.
Yeah, and that, I did say JPIA, but it is SDRMA's risk manager that I would write that question to.
Yes.
And I can ask that question very easily.
Greg, you know, and Pat and you guys, I don't. Can we access them and that without any extra cost for what we already pay? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not an hourly. Well, then I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I can ask that question easy.
Getting closer to,
Well,
Guidance.
so then what? So I got that step down.
Well, like I said before, I'd be willing to move any further forward than we are right now. I need those liability questions answered about the district's liability and also James's personal liability, because if James is going to have to take on personal liability for this, I'm not going to be supportive of this.
Okay,
all the other nuts and bolts stuff, the billing and all that stuff, you guys got that down, right? That's not a big deal. Right or wrong?
Ask Samantha that.
yeah, go ahead.
That's a step after you gentlemen decide that we are moving forward with this. We wouldn't start building that until we have the official go-ahead to set up our system for that.
Okay, all right.
Excuse me. But as you envisioned it, Samantha, you envisioned this being a burdensome activity for you and your staff?
It's going to take up more hours of our day, yes. It's not something outside of our realm of possibilities and ability, though. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and I've got a question too. Mr. Meyer, when the topic of who's going to pay for the contract being drafted up, did I hear you correctly that said that you're going to encourage us to split the cost?
We didn't have a discussion, so ultimately, if that becomes an issue that needs to be paid, we are prepared to pay for those costs.
Okay, thank you, because I don't even think it would be legal for us to split the cost with you as you're being an outside entity.
Okay.
So, thank you. Is there anything else, Board?
So could I just interject one other item? If in fact the board feels that the billing is something we could do, we are not opposed to doing this in a step process. So I would just put that out there for consideration while we handle the other pieces of the operational standpoint as opposed to the administrative billing standpoint.
That'd make me feel a lot better.
And obviously, then you get a chance to see, that we're cooperative, we want this to work, and we're not going to put up barriers to making it work successfully for both of us.
Okay.
And just and we have a job number on this, so we're tracking what we've spent so far, correct?
I went and checked after the question. We do not have a job number set up. We can set up a job number immediately. Yeah.
Okay,
Please.
please do.
I still need clarity, so I will reach out to SDRMA's risk managers and get an answer to that question. So then you want me to take it back to the board with the answer to that question at the October board meeting?
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's two pieces. There's the joint liability or the liability of MCSD, but then there's also the severable
Yeah.
liability, the individual liability that James is concerned about related to his certifications.
Right.
Okay, so is that what we want to do, Board?
I'm supportive of helping, I just want all this stuff to be right, that's
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
I don't have enough information at this point in time to make a decision.
Okay, and this is way over, this is not even in my pay grade.
But
So-
isn't the staff recommendations to give Pat direction, basically, tonight, anyway?
Yeah, that it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, but I think that we're at some sort of hybrid of what the proposal originally was, so.
Yeah, but we still have to, Pat still has to ferret all this out.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, as long as Pat's clear with,
Yeah, well, the item is to, in pursuit of the next steps. We just need to figure out what the next steps are, and then as we go forward, we'll gain more clarity as to the final product, what we're to provide.
would you be more comfortable was direction enough, or would you be more comfortable with a motion?
Direction's enough, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear that, Pat.
Direction is fine, and I believe I understand the board's direction.
Okay, this is a roll call item.
Yeah.
Does that make any
well,
difference?
No, if we moved to actually doing this, then I would want a board.
Okay,
Yeah, we're still fact
We're,
finding.
yeah,
all right,
we're still,
We're still fact finding, so.
all right.
So then does that mean we're tabling this for a later date, or what's?
No, we're giving instructions to staff to clarify some questions.
To bring back some more information
bring
before we
back
can
in
make a
October.
decision.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you all.
do we have that, is that clear?
that is clear. Just want
Okay.
to point out, we haven't opened this up for public comment.
That's exactly what I was going to do. Open it up to staff first. Any other staff wish to comment?
You stated that you are interested or open to doing this in steps, separating out the administrative and the operations portion of that.
Correct.
If you had to pick an order to those two things, what would it be?
Billing and collections.
Okay,
Your
thank you.
function first.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments from staff or questions, clarification? Okay, members of the public, do you have any comments, including those on Zoom? Seeing no hands, okay, we will wait for instructions. Well, we'll take this back up at the October board meeting after clarifications are made.
Thank you for your consideration. It's really important for us, and I do appreciate the time that you devoted to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Meyer.
You're very welcome.
Okay, item E2, consideration of James Elliott on behalf of 32371 Alapaz LLC, water leak adjustment appeal. And this item is presented by General Manager Kaspari.
Thank you, President Bender. In accordance with McKinleyville Community Services District's rules and regulations, the procedure for appeals is as follows. Rule 65.10 appeals, the board may in specific cases grant an appeal from any decision made by staff applying the standards incorporated into these rules and regulations whenever it finds A, that special circumstances exist in a particular case, and B, that practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship will result from strict interpretation and enforcement of any standard, and C, that the granting of such an appeal would not tend to defeat the purposes of these rules and regulations. The board may place conditions upon the approval of an appeal. Rule 65.02, any individual seeking an appeal shall complete an appeal application on the form provided by the district. A non-refundable fee of $25 shall be paid by the applicant to the district for such application to be considered by the board. Mr. Elliott applied for a water leak adjustment on behalf of 32371 Alapaz LLC. And so that's the Northwoods Mobile Home Park on Fawn Meadows that's across from Humboldt Sanitation. On July 2nd, 2024, the leak was determined to be associated with a split poly water service line. As the leak stretched across multiple months, the 2-month methodology outlined in the leak adjustment policy was used in calculating the leak adjustment. The usage was 23,200 cubic feet of water during March 2024, which is detailed in attachment 2 to your board packet. Their typical March usage averaged 9,400 cubic feet. Because of the nature of the leak, the customer was eligible for an additional adjustment of sewer charges. Their bill for the 59,700 cubic feet of water was $1,234.08 with a $468 sewer charge. Their typical bill per month is $494 for water and $304.42 for sewer, for an excess charge that month of $740.08 for water and $163.58 for sewer. The usage was 23,800 cubic feet of water during April 2024. Their typical April usage averaged 8,900 cubic feet. Because of the nature of the leak, the customer was eligible for an additional adjustment of sewer charges, and their bill for the 23,800 cubic feet of water was $1,266.18 with a $468 sewer charge. Their typical bill per that month is $470.81 for water and $290.33 for sewer, for an excess charge in April of $795.37 for water and $177.67 for sewer. The total calculations of their water leak adjustment came out to be $1,108.98. Per MCSD water leak adjustment policy, which is included as attachment 1, the maximum amount of any single adjustment by the general manager shall not exceed $750. It should also be noted that the district had to pay $864.80 to Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District for the 23,200 and 23,800 cubic feet of water used over the March and April 2024 billing periods. Mr. Elliott is appealing the leak adjustment amount because of financial hardship. Staff cannot recommend the approval of this appeal as it goes against established district policy. So staff recommends that the board review the appeal application from James Elliott on behalf of 32371 Alapaz LLC, consider testimony related to the appeal, and uphold the general manager's decision to deny the appeal.
Thank you, Pat. Are there any comments from the board?
Yes, sir. Are you James Elliott? Oh, okay. Oh, he's on Zoom. Could we hear from him first, please?
Yes. Mr. Elliott, would you care to address us? Is he the phone number ending in 930 or 920? He is. Oh, okay.
Are we good?
We are now,
Hello?
thank you.
Oh, okay, there we are. So, yeah, this leak's been going on for a couple years. Just roughly probably paid over, I don't know, $14,000 in additional. And just because of the weather problems, I've had many different plumbers, Sonic, leak detection out there numerous times, just never could find it until it finally showed itself.
Okay, within your park, I've got a question. Within your park, where exactly was the leak?
The leak was actually ended up to be behind number one, which is the mobile closest to Central Avenue.
Okay.
And that line only services 13 different homes. It's part of an old line that was part of the original park.
Okay, thank you. Have you had any problems with that line before?
No.
Okay.
But we are an active trying to. I would like to replace the line, and I've been talking to some contractors and got some different ideas how we can do that. But as you probably well know, everybody's busy.
Yes,
But the leak is repaired.
Okay, that's good to hear. Over to our board. Does anyone have any comments here?
The only comment I have is I read this and read it, and I was having a hard time ferreting out the numbers. Maybe it was the way you presented it, but can you?
So basically the leak it started approximately 2 years ago. And what I did was month by month, I compared it to previous months before the leak started. And yeah, it was about an additional, a little over $14,000 paid both. Well, that included water and sewer. Over the 2 years. This has been going on a long time, but we've just never could find the leak. And of course, the wet winters, when everything's wet, it's hard to find or see anything.
Right. All right, well, I appreciate that. I just want to throw out to you, see, I have two situations like that going on constantly in my life at my place, constantly chasing leaks with water lines going to pastures and stuff. And then up at the rodeo grounds, we have some kind of a leak. And I have to turn the water off every Sunday night and leave it off until we have our next Gymkhana and turn it back on. So I understand.
Obviously I can't turn the water off to the mobiles.
To the what?
To the mobile homes. I can't shut
gotcha,
their water
gotcha.
off.
I understand. Well, at my house, I turn it off a lot of times. But anyway, that's all. Thank you for that. I just was
okay.
My question, yeah.
So I have a couple of comments, questions. So ultimately, we've forgiven the sewer bill for the excess amount of water that was used, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and ultimately, the wholesale cost of the water ended up being $1,108.98, but the retail cost was $864.80. So we have MCSD we have a liability for that almost $870.
Correct. And the way our policy works, we can't average it out over 2 years. We base it on 2 months, and that's what we did in this case.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
So, I have another question. Was Samantha or Joey, I'll leave this up, I'll just float this because I know Joey in a previous life, you used to deal with the leaks all the time. Were we getting a hit on this as a leak? Previously to this, so for the last couple of years, it's been showing up as a leak?
That is correct.
Okay. And they just couldn't, of course, where it's leaking at, I'm surprised you were able to ever find it. You got really lucky that you were able to, back in there where that's at, that you guys were actually finally able to find it. I don't know, I'd kind of like to hear what the rest of the board has to say before I go any further.
Go ahead.
We absolutely have to cover the pass-through cost. That's a definite for me. As far as what the rest of the board wants to do after that, I'm kind of open to discussion, but that's an absolute.
I also agree that we need to definitely cover the pass-through costs, because if we didn't cover the pass-through costs, that would be doing a disservice to our other ratepayers. Also, in order for me to agree to anything other than the $750, I'd have to have a more compelling reason.
It's 1,100.
Oh, the full?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anything
What
more
would
than
what would then be the difference?
Well,
So the details of that are in the fiscal analysis. So the 2-month leak adjustment, fully, the calculations came out to the $1,108.98. That is $358.98 over the $750 maximum adjustment per the
Okay.
policy.
Yeah.
What was the actual?
Thank you, Joey.
I'm sorry.
So we're talking about $358 here. Then.
yeah, but if you don't want to pay anything for what we had to pay a Humble Bay, then it's
If the wholesale cost was $864.80, the difference is $244.18.
Yeah, we're not gonna take any less than the wholesale cost for the water.
Right. We do need to recover the pass-through.
right. So like Samantha just said, we're talking about
$244.18 would be the forgivable amount.
Okay.
That's taken the 1108 minus the 864.
Correct.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Excuse me, when you figure those numbers, what are you figuring?
So the total calculation for the water leak adjustment after the fiscal analysis was $1,108.98. However, McKinleyville Community Service District paid $864.80 from Humboldt Bay.
Okay,
So the difference between the two is the $244.18.
okay.
So if we chose to recover at least what we paid for,
Right.
we would want to only forgive the $244.18.
Jim,
So the burden is not, the burden then is not falling back upon our ratepayers for the
Correct,
cost of, okay.
correct.
but ultimately we are, because there's electricity and all those other built-in costs that we add on top of the retail, the wholesale cost of the water
Right,
to get it
wear
up to
and tear and all that.
$1,108. We would be, but ultimately, we would just be asking them to cover the cost, our cost from Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District. But there still are other costs, because we had to move that water through the system. There's wear and tear on the system. We're paying our distribution operators and things like that. So it's not like we're recovering all of our costs if we get them to, we're just.
Right.
So I do want to clarify that per the leak adjustment policy, this customer has already been approved for the maximum $750 amount of adjustment per the calculations per policy. The difference here is whether the calculations came out to a $1,108.98 adjustment, of which we are only allowed to forgive $750 without board approval.
And not the additional 200 and, or is that 200 and what was that?
That's not additional. That's the difference between the 1,108 and the pass-through fees.
Okay, so I apologize, guys, I get confused on that stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind
So-
of lost, too.
Well, the maximum that we can, that staff can forgive, or the maximum that the staff can, whatever the word I'm looking for on that is $750. The $1,108.98 is well over that. So
So I guess, Greg, my question is, the 750 that's allotted, would we add the two, whatever it is, to the 750 or not? Or am I just not getting where that's at?
the 750 is a calculation
No, I got that. I understand that.
of the amount that they could be forgiven.
And that's our policy amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
But then this additional 200 and something dollars, is that something we would possibly add to that 750, or is that just informational?
I'm going to defer back to what Joey was saying because I think he was clarifying that.
Yeah, so this customer could speak to us as staff tomorrow and accept a $750 adjustment. That would be no problem. What's presented before the board is if the board wants to approve above and beyond that $750.
Okay, so I guess my question is would it be reasonable to, if we decided to give them more, just add that 200 and something dollars or not?
No.
Okay, thank you. I understand that. Okay. I don't know what to do, guys. I'll wait for.
So I was initially offered the 750 unless I wanted to appeal. So I guess at this point, we'll just take the 750.
Okay, sounds like you made the decision, sir.
That helps.
That helps.
Yeah, you have other things to do.
But before you leave and before this is done, if it's all right with the board, I don't know whether this is possible or not, but we have someone in our district who is, I'd like to call the water whisperer, and I had to hire him to come out to my place, and luckily, it didn't take him very long, but he found a leak that I would have bet you $1,000 didn't exist at the spot he found it, and he found it. So, Pat, is that a possibility to hire that person? Could this guy hire our guy to come out for X, whatever the cost is, to try to track down this leak or not?
Well, he's found this
He's
leak.
found a leak.
And the district's policy is we can't make recommendations for plumbers or anybody.
I believe somebody there who I'd used before gave me the name of Sonic Leak Detection. I could be wrong about that, but I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not MCSD's policy to recommend contractors or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Now, if you want to go offline and recommend them as Dennis Mayo to the manager, but MCSD is not going to start recommending.
Gotcha. And that's information to me, and I appreciate that. I just know that it works for me, that's all.
Okay, well, we're almost done. This is a roll call vote item, so I'll need a motion and a second to officially deny his appeal, unless his withdraw here would suffice.
Did he hang up?
Or your Pat?
No,
yeah.
I'm still here.
Are you withdrawing then?
Yeah, I mean, sounds like I might as well. It's, why waste more time?
Yeah, so district staff will then finalize with the $750 water leak adjustment.
Okay, so there's no need for a vote and,
There's a-
okay, great.
Thank
Okay,
you, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Elliott, for your consideration. Greatly
Okay, thank you.
appreciate
Yeah, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
And for your good demeanor in the process.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Okay. I think the board's going to take a 5-minute recess. We'll resume at 7:35.
Well, isn't that what you needed to know?
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. Okay, with item E3, second reading of ordinance 2024-02, amending Regulation 24, use of the public sewers to address mobile food trucks. And this item will be presented by General Manager Kaspari.
Thank you, President Binder. As the number of food trucks operating in McKinleyville has increased over the past few years, it has become apparent that the district needs to refine our regulations to prevent the discharge of fats, oils, and grease and other deleterious materials into the district's wastewater collection system from these sources. We also desire to establish explicit discharge requirements to educate the food truck operators, as well as Humboldt County Department of Environmental Health permitting staff, on what needs to be considered and what is and isn't allowed. Staff has developed an application, which is included as attachment 1, and a permit, which is included as attachment 2 to your board packets, for food trucks operating out of McKinleyville. These are based around our existing commercial waste discharge permits, which are required of other restaurants and similar establishments. The intent is not to discourage or establish regulatory red tape to prevent the operation of food trucks in McKinleyville, but to educate the owner-operators on what is permissible and to protect the district's collection and treatment systems. Toward that end, the district needs to update our rules and regulations, specifically Regulation 24, the use of public sewers, in order to define mobile food trucks and re-identify industrial waste haulers as commercial waste haulers. Rule 24.15, hauled wastewater, was amended and has been reviewed by District Legal Counsel. This is the second reading of this ordinance. As a reminder to the board, should any substantive changes be desired, the ordinance would revert to a first reading at the October 2nd, 2024 board meeting. So staff recommends that the board review information provided, discuss, take public comment, and approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-02 by title only.
Okay, thank you, Pat. And we'll bring this back to the board, and I'll remind you that this is the second reading. Are there any comments from the board?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
So the food truck, and I would have asked you this question the other day, but it just dawned on me. So say a food truck, the person could be from anywhere and just come to McKinleyville for a short amount of time. Would every food truck that operates in McKinleyville be required to do this, or the people that basically have addresses in McKinleyville?
Everyone that's operating here, and it's going to take quite a while. So this basically gives us the ability to go knock on any food truck that is parked in McKinleyville, knock on their door and say, hey, have you filled out this application and this permit? In order to operate in McKinleyville, we need to, figure out where you're dumping your waste and make sure you're not just dumping it without any pre-treatment into our sewer system. So it's absolutely going to take quite a bit of legwork from district staff, but yes, the intent is any food truck operating in McKinleyville.
If they stop in McKinleyville and sell and open their side doors, they have got to have one of these permits.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'm prepared to make a motion subject to community comment and other board members. I would like to move to approve second reading of ordinance 2024-02, attachment 4 by title only.
Okay, we will take comment from staff. Staff have any comment? Members of the public, including those on Zoom? Okay, we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Joey, would you please take the roll?
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes. Okay, item E4, a second reading of ordinance 2024-03, amending Regulation 21, connection charges to address accessory dwelling units, ADU sewer connection fees. This item is presented by Board Secretary Joey Blaine.
Thank you, President Binder. In 2017, the state of California enacted Government Code Section 65852.2 E and F in order to encourage the development of accessory dwelling units, also commonly known as mother-in-law units, to facilitate affordable housing development throughout the state. Part of the state code made it more streamlined for agency approval and dictated when and if government agencies, including water and sewer agencies, could charge fees for the connections of ADUs. In May through June 2020, the Humboldt County Planning Commission held a series of 5 public hearings on draft county ordinances and general plan amendments to reestablish local standards in conformance with the new state code. At the September 1st, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting, the Board of Supervisors adopted ordinance number 2650, which amends various general plan and county ordinances on ADU developments to conform with the new state regulations. Further, it forbids the charging of impact fees for ADUs less than 750 square feet in size. In addition to ADUs, the ordinance also defines junior accessory dwelling units, JADUs, which have stricter rules regarding connection charges and impact fees. Further, State of California enacted Government Code Section 65852.2F states that for the purposes of providing water, sewer, or power, including a connection fee, a JADU unit shall not be considered a separate or new dwelling unit. Lastly, staff has removed the development intensity charge of $225 applicable in some developments and added an administration fee of $185, variable annually based upon the annual changes calculated in December of each year to an average of the San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, California, and West Coast size Class B/C COLA indexes published by the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. The administration fee covers staff time involved in the preparation and review of building and planning referrals where the evaluation of the necessity of capacity and other applicable fees is a factor. The district needs to update our rules and regulations, specifically Rule Regulation 21, connection charges, to conform to county and state regulations with regards to ADU, JADU developments. Rule 21.03, accessory dwelling unit / junior accessory dwelling unit / secondary dwelling unit connection charges was amended and has been reviewed by legal counsel, attachment 1. The main provisions of the rule are to define what constitutes an ADU, define what constitutes a JADU, and detail when connection fees and other fees can be charged for an ADU or JADU development. This is the second reading of this ordinance. As a reminder to the board, should any substantive changes be desired, the ordinance would revert to first reading at the October 2nd, 2024 meeting. Staff recommends that the board review the information provided, discuss, take public comment, and approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-03, attachment 2, by title only.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Like he said, this is the second reading. Board, do you have any comments? Okay, members of the staff? Members of the general public, including those on Zoom? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-03, attachment 2, by title only.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, passes. Okay, going to item E5, the second reading of ordinance 2024-04, amending Regulation 5, application for regular water service to address accessory dwelling units, water service, or water connection fees. Okay, this item is also presented by Board Secretary Blaine.
Thank you, President Binder. Similar to General Manager Kaspari's methodology at our August meeting, this is nearly identical to the previous ordinance 2024-03 in the discussion section, except it is for the water service side of things as opposed to the wastewater. This is the second reading of this ordinance. As a reminder to the board, should any substantive changes be desired, the ordinance would revert to the first reading at the October 2nd, 2024 meeting. Staff recommends that the board review information provided, discuss, take public comment, and approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-04 by title only.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Any comments from the board? Okay, comments from staff? Comments from the general public, including those on Zoom? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-04, attachment 2, by title only.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Binder,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That passes. Excuse me. Item E6, review and discuss annual board self-evaluation. This item is presented once again by Board Secretary Blaine.
Thank you, President Bender. Per the Board of Directors Policy Manual Rule 11, the board is committed to its own performance as a board to identify the board's strengths and areas in which it may improve the board's functioning. The goals of the self-evaluation are to clarify roles, to enhance harmony and understanding among board members, and to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the board meetings. The goal is to improve MCSD policies for the benefit of the McKinleyville community and employees of the district. Members of the board completed the approved self-evaluation questionnaire consisting of several open-ended questions. The results have been compiled for the number of board members that completed the forms, attachment 1. Staff recommends that the board review the information presented, process desired outcomes, and overall compilation of data, open for public comment, and discuss the results of the 2024 board self-evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, board, do we have any comments on our own self-evaluations or comments on other things that are in the attachment?
No, I just want to thank everyone, and thanks for coalescing it all. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that the right word? I don't know.
Mike, aggregate.
Yeah.
Whatever.
My comment would be that if we're going to have any substantive conversation on this, maybe we should postpone this item until all 5 of us are present.
You think
I
so?
would concur with that. That'd be fine.
But if we're just going to nod and shake our heads,
Okay, well, I think that all 5 of us should be present to have this, as all 5 of us contributed to the process.
and may I point out, some of us more than others with the 1 and 2 word answers.
Hey, what are you talking about?
I'm not naming names.
I actually put a couple paragraphs in this time.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so that wasn't you that answered the yes and the no's?
No, it
Okay.
wasn't.
Was it you, James?
Okay, well, if it please the board, I'd like to table this until our October meeting.
Sorry, staff.
No, actually, President Bender, do you mind if I add something?
Oh, go ahead.
I would like to, at that board meeting, have people come back with a response to the question of, do you get any value out of this? Out of filling this out and reviewing other people's answers. And if the answer is, yeah, I like this question or this question, we can streamline this. If it's like, no, I don't really get any value out of this, then maybe we should reassess whether we do it or not. So if you could give that some consideration prior to the next board meeting.
It is part of our policy.
Yeah.
In our board manual, in our board policy manual.
Okay.
Adding on to that, I would also say then that any staffers that participate in that would like to have that feedback from them as well.
Sure, it is directed towards the board.
No, I understand,
okay.
but
Yep.
if,
Yeah.
a little esoteric, but I guess if we heard from you that you appreciate the answers or that they don't help, that'd be of value too.
Okay, noted.
Yeah, I guess you are kind of, there are,
Yeah,
some of
it's
the
a-
questions are pointed towards you.
yeah.
Yeah, I do think that staff ought to be included
Yeah.
in this as well.
I agree. Not
Thank
to
you.
say that, bring it up.
Thank you.
Okay, so that can be put in the language in the board packet to be prepared to discuss that specific question. Okay. Sounds good. We'll table this until October.
Oh, I thought we were done until I realized that I gave you my number 7.
Okay, item E7, consider attendance at the Association of California Water Agencies Aqua 2024 Fall Conference and Exhibition in Palm Desert, California on December 3rd through 5th, 2024. And this item will be presented by Board Secretary Blaine.
Thank you, President Bender. This year's Aqua Fall Conference and Exhibition will be held in Indian Wells, California, from December 3rd to 5th, 2024. Regular registration and cancellation deadline is November 15th, 2024. Attachment 1 is the preliminary agenda for the conference. Attachment 2 is the registration, meals, and hotel pricing sheet. Fiscal analysis, regular registration deadline, as spoken, is November 15, 2024. The cost for full conference registration and meals package is $899. Meals not provided by the conference for 4 days will be $264.25 per person. Special hotel rate based on availability is $219 per night. 4 nights of lodging would be $876 per attendee before taxes and fees. United Airlines airfare at today's rate is approximately $595 per attendee. A mid-sized sedan rental car would be approximately $255. An approximate total cost for travel, meals, and attendance to the conference is $2,370 per attendee. The remaining board travel budget for fiscal year 23-24, should be 24-25, pardon me, is approximately $20,000 and $20,021. To maintain the lowest possible cost, if approved, the board is asked to notify the board secretary no later than September 18th, 2024, of their desire to attend. Staff recommends that the board review the information provided for the Aqua 2024 Fall Conference and Exhibition being held in Indian Wells, California, December 3rd through 5th, 2024, and consider authorization for interested board members to attend.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Any comments from the board? Okay. I do plan on attending. Dennis, are you going?
Yeah.
Okay, you're going. Okay. Comments from staff?
Do we need direction, or is this a roll call, or?
This is a roll call vote.
So I move to approve the item.
Okay, comments from staff?
I'll second that.
Comments from the general public? Seeing none, we do have a motion and a second. Joey, would you please call the roll?
President Bender?
Yes.
Director Beitman?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Director Orsini?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item passes. Okay, reports, active committee reports, Park and Rec Committee. And that would be me and Director Beitman. I have nothing additional to add. I did attend the meeting.
Nor have I.
Okay. Area Fund, Colstead and me, and we did not meet. Redwood Region Economic Development Commission, Director Beitman.
Redwood Region Economic Development Commission held a board meeting, and I also attended a loan committee meeting.
A what meeting, Jim?
The loan committee.
loan.
Anything that's, they have decided that any loan in excess of $100,000 should go to committee before it comes to board for approval. The purchase of Mad River Gardens, they approved the purchase of the business from the current owners by the 2 major employees. Looks like we're going to have new ownership, but not new management of Mad River Gardens as a consequence of it.
Is Babbitt still going to be part of it, or is he out?
I think it's all the same people. It's just that the next generation is taking charge of the business.
Not Babbitt, Babbage.
At the board meeting, the normal board meeting format is to have a speaker and to discuss some current issue. And this time it was, I think his name was Scott Thompson from Nordic Aqua Farms, gave a very brief report on the progress of the development of the fish farm and is moving forward. They have changed the species that they intend to raise there, and there's been a substantial amount of conversation about especially the sewage and the, what they call the diffuser ports, which are just basically, as I understand, nothing more than pipes going out of the ocean that were used by the pulp mill before, and they intend to use those. He says there's 1.5 miles of pipe that they're going to be pumping their discharge through. And there were some questions about what's in that discharge, and that didn't go anywhere. I'm sorry. He mentioned that they are working, most of his presentation was they were working to develop what he called an aquaculture innovation center. And they're obtaining grants, and they're setting, they have in mind something they refer to as an aquaculture innovation park. That's basically on the property that was occupied by the pulp mill. And coming up as a seaweed festival conference and so on with that. He did mention that there seemed to be some conflict with the wind project, but he didn't go into any great detail on that. And underwater releases or seem somehow or other to come into that. The other thing they talked about was the broadband project and the development of fiber to the home in the disadvantaged communities, if you will, and the intention to run a fiber up to Oric and other such places. One thing that was mentioned that was of, I think, of interest to us is that Arcata has put in an ordinance, I think, that to enforce what they call their dig once policy, which basically says that any time they issue a permit for a trench, no matter for what it is, if it's for water, if it's for sewage, or if it's for other utilities, that they're requiring that there would be an additional 2-inch conduit laid in the trench, and then the party that lays that conduit can lease the usage of it and obtain revenue for that. So basically, this is you put the conduit in and you can rent to others. We got into questions of JPA bylaws, and back to the early years of the REDEC, and the comment was made that it was started initially as an economic development agency with a small lending program to its side, anticipating that it was going to be primarily grant writing and getting funding and so on. And it's turned out most of the organizations that are parties to it do their own economic development, so there's little or no need for economic development. So now it's basically a lending organization with an occasional economic development added to it. So that's interesting. The Redwood Region Economic Development Commission is not doing much in the way of economic development, but is primarily
Giving loans to people the banks won't give loans to.
Yes, exactly. They have to be refused by the bank in order to become eligible.
Right.
So it's a lender of last resort, and a very active one at that.
And they get a lot of requests.
Yeah. So and the couple of loan requests that I've been I'm on the loan committee, and so a couple of loan requests that came through that I was hearing, I thought were quite good. I mentioned that it was the Hufferts buying the Oric Theater. That was approved, and now the group for Med River Gardens. So anyhow, that's what's going on. Just a very quick thing, that every participant or board member make some kind of a quick report. And Humboldt CSD reported that they're having issues with asbestos pipe breaks, and they're going to have some really major stuff to deal with there. And I think that kind of reflects back to us. And the other thing is that Blue Lake has a new set of socials, and they're putting in what they call a splash table for a fountain for the kids to play in. So that's the report.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Yes, Dennis.
On the Arcata's policy of the line, additional line in there, is that something we need to keep track of, Pat, in terms of, we connect up with them a lot? Is that something to keep an eye on or to think about?
We don't have any of our stuff in areas where they're trenching, I guess, Boyd Road, except for perhaps Boyd Road. Yeah, I don't want to editorialize on their policy. I wouldn't want somebody to come in and put an electrical line right next to my water line in the same trench and stuff like that. So, but it'll fall under USA. So if we are doing any digging on our trenches in the Boyd Road area or something like that,
Right.
they'll have to monitor.
Yeah, we'd have to modify our policy because we don't allow pipes in our trenches. What is it? It's 10-foot separation between water and sewer, and what is it, 5 feet for everything else? Yeah. So you couldn't put a water main in, or a water line in for service into your house and put a pipe, a conduit in the same trench.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking that perhaps the thought process of that is for internet connectivity to be available. And anyway, that's something we need to keep track of, that's all.
Yeah, and I don't want to, we'll see what the county requires. I don't think we're going to do it for any of our trenches.
Okay. All right. So I think you answered my question. If the county comes to us and says blah, blah, well, then we'll deal with that at that time.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, McKinleyville Senior Center Board Liaison, that would be me. Well, we haven't been doing anything really super special lately. We will, once my ankle heals up and I'm able to actually stand up and do things. We did get 2 new volunteers to replace our old volunteer that used to pick up bread at Safeway for us on Thursdays and Fridays. We have Heather Kaufman and Ms. Reinierson, Beth Reinierson. Yeah. Yeah, so they're both on board now. They're both known in the community. So we thank them for their service.
I didn't know Beth was getting that long in the tooth.
She's actually not. But, well, she just started last Friday, so we'll see her. You'll see her. You hang out there a lot. Okay, and other than that, everything is going fine. We did experience, of course, a lull in participation numbers the last couple of months because of summer. Everybody's going to see their grandchildren and spending time with family out of town, but we're seeing an uptick in the last 2 weeks. People are starting to come back as school starts. So, I'm waiting to see what comes next. At our board meetings, we also have a tradition now of having a presentation before our business meeting. And last month, our presentation was conducted by Ben Winker from California Health Advocates, and he spoke on Medicare fraud, how to detect, prevent, and report Medicare fraud, and that was very entertaining and very informative. And our hostesses were there. They're the customer-facing part of our organization. Usually they answer the phones and talk to people when they come in with problems. And so it was helpful for them to hear that. And so that's about all I have there.
I have a comment.
Yes, Dan.
So, I don't know, last few days, several days, I can't keep track of time very good, but I was over talking to the skateboard crew, what they're, and stuff, anyway, and the, what's the big group that comes in and does all the exercise?
Tai Chi, Sail Fitness?
Sail. So, milling around out there, and about 20, I would say, I can thought, men and women chatting, and the conversation was how happy they were about somebody that is putting stuff on Facebook and keeping track of stuff, and how they can look and see what things are going on, and how connective it is, and how much they appreciated that. And I got to thinking, I might just know that person, and so I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a labor of love, really is. Okay.
Nice to be appreciated.
It is. I do appreciate that. Audit and Finance Committee, Director Orsini.
We did not meet, but I
Okay.
would guess that we're probably going to be meeting at some point soon.
Soon, very soon.
I guess so. Employee Negotiations Committee.
I've canceled them all.
You canceled.
No,
them
we
all.
haven't met.
Okay. The McMac, Director Orsini.
Okay, we did meet, and we met on August 21st, and we had our typical community safety report from Paul Kraft, CHP, and Supervisor Madrone also addressed us, and we had I believe, I'm not showing it, but I could have swore we had from somebody from the fire department also there, but nobody from, but I'm not showing that. Anyway, and the major gist of our meeting was update on the town center ordinance and where we're at on the administrative draft, and a new timeline for the administrative draft. It's going to be a little bit, I think we're looking at a couple of 2 or 3 month movement in the schedule later than what we had thought about it. There was some issues with the vehicle miles traveled, and the traffic analysis was one of the major things that was holding them up on getting that finished. That we also talked about the a report from Kevin Jenkins on the incorporation subcommittee. Talked about the potential for the college to get grant funding to do the initial study. So they're going. So we authorized them to. We authorized the chair and the vice chair of our committee to write a letter to the college requesting them to go after that grant funding. And we talked about the board, the joint board meeting. Oh, no, sorry. That's the wrong. And that's all I basically had.
Okay, thank you, Greg. McKinleyville Community Forest Committee, Orsini or Beitman, or both?
Sure, I'll go first. So the major gist of the meeting, or the main meat and potatoes of the meeting, was putting together the subcommittees. And through the process of the subcommittees, of talking about the subcommittees, we kind of aggregated, there's that word again, we combined a bunch of the subcommittees so that there's not 6 different subcommittees. There's a subcommittee for the, and Kirsten, you can help me out with this, the forest management plan, and then we're going to do budget. That's going to entail the budget subcommittee and the forest management plan subcommittee. And then there was one other one that was also,
Yes, so the forest management plan / funding / budget is one subcommittee that they formed.
okay,
And then the second subcommittee that was formed was the,
trails one. Yeah.
the trails plan, security / cleanups / infrastructure.
Yeah. So we basically combined the six or 5 or whatever it was subcommittees into 2 subcommittees, which will save staff hopefully a lot of work, and not in some meetings. One of the things that came up during community comment was we had a bunch of people, equestrian representatives, that came to the meeting and spoke, and were very interested in helping out with trails, and brought up some really good points that I'm sure that staff will probably be. I don't know if you've been briefed on any of that yet, but so and I'm sure that we'll be hearing some stuff about that in the near future, or at future meetings.
Okay.
That's all I have.
I don't have much to add. I think the formation of the 2 subcommittees went very smoothly, and we had, happily, we had one more person volunteering for one of the subcommittees, and we had seats on the subcommittee, and then she agreed to accept a position as an alternate, and I was very happy, and we didn't have to vote one of them on or off. And that was the tone of the nice thing, I think, was the tone of the meeting was quite congenial. We had, I think, 5, maybe 6 equestrian organizations represented, including, among others, Backcountry Horsemen, who do a fair amount of trails work. I attended their I guess, retreat this past weekend, and they're working on trails at Humboldt Redwood State Park. And they do a lot in terms of trails activity, but the others do as well. And so there is the potential here of having people who will turn out to do a fair amount of work to get things done. And I think the important thing is that the relationships between the mountain biking community and the equestrian community are not always congenial. So mountain bikes are silent, and they like to get a good deal of speed, and they can startle a horse, and the horse will then spin and dump its rider, and that happens with unfortunately too great a frequency, and as a consequence, equestrians come to view mountain bikers as a menace rather than as partners in the development of something. But this particular group seemed to be very much congenial, and the after-meeting conversation was very much around working together to help in the development. So I was very pleased with that. So I think we've gotten ourselves a good start. We'll see whether it continues on. Yeah, I think that's enough. There was one issue, but I don't think it bears discussion, so, yeah.
And then one other thing that I had neglected to talk about, BBW gave a presentation on the framework
Yes.
plan.
Who did?
BBW,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and basically brought everybody up to speed that's on the committee for the plan that we've, of course, that the committee, the staff and myself and Dennis had already reviewed that before it was brought back to the board for approval.
That was a good presentation. It was
Yeah, it
very
was.
clear.
Okay, great. Yes, Dennis?
So I have a question and then a suggestion. What was the status of the rig that the guy drove up and got stuck up in there? Did you ever get that thing out of there, or did he get arrested, or did it get towed out? What was that, a month ago, I guess now? What's the status of that deal?
Yeah, he got it out of there. The sheriff did show up. Deputy didn't do anything.
The individual got it out himself?
Yeah,
Okay. Tear up stuff or?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And just curious, because I hadn't heard. And so my suggestion is something to kind of put in the thinking cap or the smoking pipe, whatever, however you want to do it. As the horse groups and the bicycle groups do things, let's think about doing something to thank them, like have some hot dogs or soda pops, like when they're doing those things. I think it would be penny advantageous to us to unsolicited, when we know they're up there doing that, show up and give them some soda pops and hot dogs or something like that. Just kind of as a, priming the pump. They're coming in, they're doing stuff, we appreciate it. Show them we appreciate them. Just something to think about.
Sounds good. Okay.
Obviously, I like hot dogs.
Yeah, and let's, okay, I want to comment very briefly on that we have two strong user groups, and they're active and they're outspoken, and I think that's good, and they'll be active in creating their vision of what they want up there, and we see that happening. But we have a large number of individuals, not well organized, who see the property quite differently. There was recently a post, and I think it was on McKinleyville Watch, that Kat Koshkin posted of the entrance from their property, which says sanctuary, and my concern is that somehow or other we draw in not just the equestrians and the cyclists, but people who really regard this as a place of sanctuary, a place of quiet, and so on, and not get ourselves in a position that we're listening to the loudest voices. And I think that's going to be the ongoing challenge for us in the committee.
Or opportunity.
It's an opportunity. It's a great opportunity.
It's an opportunity
And quite frankly, I think the direction the committee is taken up to this point is very conducive to that.
So we can provide them with tofu. more birds.
Okay, are we ready to move along?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Humboldt Bay Muni Water Task Force, Director Cal Chormeo.
No contact whatsoever.
No contact. Okay. Moving on to F2, legislative and regulatory reports. Director Mayo, Orsini, or Beitman?
I took the month off.
Take the month off. Okay, moving along to staff reports. Finance.
I guess. Perhaps our new senator was here today. That's all I'll say.
Okay. All right, staff reports. Finance and Administration Department, Director Howard.
I have nothing to add to my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Operations, Mr. Henry.
I have nothing to add to my report, thank you.
Okay, Parks and Rec Department, Director Messmer.
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay, and General Manager Kaspari.
Couple things to add. I'd like to congratulate Director Orsini to his reelection to the CSDA board. Also like to, in his absence, congratulate Director Couch to his appointment as an alternate to the LAFCO board. So, both of those are much needed, high profile positions, and it's great. Heidi?
Heidi.
Yeah, yeah, so, but I think it's great that Director Couch is an alternate as well. And it's great Greg is still on the CSDA board. Also wanted to talk about the update for the 4.5 million gallon tank. They are going to do the wrap next week, Dennis, and so, you can go and take a look at that on next Tuesday at 3:30. And then they're going to continue it, so the folks going to CSDA conference the week after, Tuesday at 3:30.
I'm gathering that Dennis will probably need a reminder about.
You're probably right.
That's Joey's full-time job. Also wanted to let the board know that we did, CSDA came out with an opposed to Senate Bill 937 and requested letters in support. So we did put together letters and sent them to Assemblymember Woods and Senate Pro Tem McGuire's office. And that, if you're not familiar with that, that definitely puts a lot of onus on capacity fees and stuff that are the requirements from the private developer are being rolled down to districts and stuff. And so we're having taken on liability for those, and they're not allowing capacity fees, and they're locking in capacity fees when the initial permit application goes in too. So it has a bunch of problems with it. So we put those letters together and got them out. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Okay, at this time, I'd like to recognize Supervisor Madrone, who is on Zoom. Supervisor Madrone, do you have any comments or anything to share with us today?
Yes, President Bender, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for a good meeting. And yes, our new Senator Schiff and Congressman Huffman have been in town the last 2 days. Yesterday, they toured the very large Coho Restoration Project that Mary Burke, local, that you all know well from the CST, has been coordinating with the Save the Redwoods League community members and the Yurok tribe up at Prairie Creek. So that was yesterday. And then today they were touring the Last Chance Grade Project with Caltrans and the Huffman stakeholder group up there. So other than that, nothing else to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay.
McGarvey must have done something. The shift's actually coming up here now.
Okay, item F4, President's Report. And I really don't have too much to add. I've just been doing what I normally do each month. I've been working with the Aqua Communication, Region 1 Communication Committee on mainly the Quench California campaign. I did attend an Aqua, a joint Aqua and another organization who I can't recall the name, on a review of the making conservation a California way of life regulation. It was only an hour long. It was very well attended, though, and I didn't learn too much more than I already knew, but the fact that I was there and McKinleyville Community Services District was on the roster, we were seen. I think that contributes a great amount of value to our district, just by that. And I did go to the Community Forest Committee and sat through and listened to that, and it was very cordial. I appreciated the dialogue go there. I also appreciated seeing the equestrians come out and have their voice heard as opposed to just the bicycle people. So that's nice, and I hope that they get along well. Okay, that's all I have. F5, board member comments, announcements, reports, and agenda item requests.
Nothing for me.
Okay, are we adjourned?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, we will adjourn. Thank you for coming.